more immediate impact is that the loss of this ice cover on the Bering Sea means climate change will be increasing. And has already had substantial economic impact for the coastal communities that rely on ice for crabbing, fishing, and walrus hunting. Other commercial fisheries are likely to be affected like this for years. Now, the only thing that we can do, basically, is focus on how far the decline of the Arctic sea ice will go. And that's really what people are talking about now. The sea ice loss we're seeing now is happening in the context of a world warmed by 1 degree Celsius, or 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit, above pre-industrial levels. Those are the levels before the Industrial Revolution, back in the 1800s. Now, a world warmed by 1.5 degrees Celsius, or 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit, would involve even more extreme and life-threatening changes. This is according to the International Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC. And a world warmed 2 degrees would look dramatically different even from that, with longer heat waves, less food available, and more regions of the planet becoming dangerously uninhabitable. And a world warmed by 3 degrees would be even more dramatically different, and so on. So, it certainly is a compelling issue, to say the least. So, what's to be done about it? I mean, many people say, well, it's already happening. You can't stop it. And there's truth to that. It's already happening. And it will continue to happen. But as I mentioned, one of the things you can do, as many people are gathering to do this Earth Day, is begin to take action to limit the emissions that cause the melting of the sea caps and cause the warming of the Earth. And that involves governments getting involved and doing the best they can. We did have an international climate agreement. Unfortunately, the United States has backed out of that agreement. However, the good news is that many companies here within the United States are still holding to the goals that were set in order to keep global warming from getting above these levels that I mentioned. So what are some of the effects that we're seeing? Well, of course, extreme weather, heavy rainfall, lots of rainfall. I've seen more rain this year than I can remember ever seeing right where I am. And I'm here on the mid-Atlantic coast. Obviously, coastal cities and developing countries and poverty-stricken areas will be the first to be hit and be hit hard, but it's something that will affect everyone. So, the good news is this galvanizes many people, and one of the heroes that we have that has stepped forward is a young lady, a girl, by the name of Greta Thunberg, and she is in Sweden, and every day she demonstrates and she motivates other children to demonstrate leaving their schools to strike over climate change. Now, she's missed school to sit outside the Swedish parliament almost every Friday since last August, demanding politicians bring the country into line with the Paris Climate Agreement. She has spoken at last year's UN climate talks, and her idea to sit outside the Swedish parliament has really galvanized a lot of people, and certainly young people, because it's her future she's thinking about, and the future of her fellow classmates. And the strike has been quite successful, as a matter of fact. It's certainly making life for those politicians a little uncomfortable. And so that is something that's very inspiring. And her leadership at such an early age is really a huge phenomenon, and something to really be proud of and to take note of. And hopefully it will have the intended effect of getting the politicians she's concerned about to change their approach and to get on board with the climate goals that most of the major countries are sharing right now. And by the way, we are still involved in that and will be until 2020. That's when the change could possibly happen, and we'll pull out. I think things will change before that happens. So it is not by any means a done deal. Another positive aspect that this is creating is science through NASA. NASA is using their technology, using their abilities to create a huge data set and project out how rainfall patterns worldwide may change, going all the way into the year 2100. How temperature might change via models of various scenarios, including the amount of increasing carbon dioxide. There's 21 climate models altogether, and this is giving some very excellent information about what may happen to individual cities, towns, areas that will help scientists and planners conduct risk assessments so that they can better understand the effects locally and globally that are going to occur, such as severe droughts, floods, heat waves, losses in agriculture. And this data set gives the scientists and planners a great new tool, and the politicians too, on how to cope with the warming planet. We are going to need it because the planet is warming. And so this is another great way that we are stepping forward to try to engage with this problem. Very inspiring. And for Earth Day itself, there are many great events, but one that is really, to me, rather inspiring too, is the Great Global Cleanup. The Great Global Cleanup is the largest environmental volunteer event in history. And it's starting on Earth Day 2019, but they're preparing for next year's Earth Day 2020 because it will be the 50th anniversary of the creation of Earth Day. So cities across the U.S. and across the world will be involved in the great global cleanup, and then building on the best practices and metrics from the participation in 2019 this year, they will scale up an even bigger event for 2020, the 50th anniversary. Very interesting. Some of the events that are going to be happening during this month with grassroots organizations and community members are cleaning up parks, areas, communities, local solutions. And you can choose wherever you live, you can choose your own city and find a cleanup to participate in and volunteer in. So if you would like to participate in that, let me give you the website upon which you may sign up. Cleanup.earthday.org. Pretty simple, right? Cleanup.earthday.org. And you can scroll through all of the cities, find one closest to you, and get involved if you have a mind to. Because that's what this is all about. This is what we've created this situation to do. To give us opportunities to do these sorts of things. So, if it's something that matters to you, something you would find engaging, I encourage you to go and explore cleanup.earthday.org. And I'll post it at my Facebook page, which is Metaphysical Media. You can find it, just go to Facebook, type in H. Wilkinson Media, and it will take you to the page, H. Wilkinson Media. All right. So now we have done our discussion of Earth Day. We'll probably get back into it after the Easter break as well, to see how those cleanups went. But now let's continue on with our Spring Wellness Edition. So, gluten-free, big topic. Lots of people doing it because for some people are very allergic to glutens and they need to. But it has gone beyond that, where lots of people are just saying that glutens themselves are unhealthy and are trying to stay away from it. So about 2 million Americans, that's 1 in 133 people, have celiac disease. This is the disease that glutens are bad for, and are caused by eating foods like gluten. It's an autoimmune disease. It tends to run in families and is inherited. So if you have a family history of celiac disease, then you would be vulnerable to it. But if you don't, then the likelihood of you getting a celiac disease is not high. Symptoms are caused by eating foods that contain gluten. And like many autoimmune conditions, the symptoms can initially be triggered by physical or emotional stress or an illness. So people with celiac disease need to follow this gluten-free diet because even a small amount of gluten can cause problems and result in damage to the small intestine. The good news is that a gluten-free diet can really improve and resolve the symptoms and heal any existing internal damage that you might have. So there have been enough small studies and many anecdotal success stories that the University of Arizona Integrative Medicine fellows have discovered and have shared. There is something called a non-celiac gluten sensitivity. So if you feel like you're sensitive to gluten, but you're not, you don't have the autoimmune celiac condition, but you feel a gluten sensitivity that might be affecting you,